Hi, I'm Tammy. I'm coming to you today from my new channel, Ups with Down Syndrome. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about heart conditions and Down syndrome. It is actually quite common for children with Down syndrome to have a heart condition. According to the National Down Syndrome Society on their webpage, it says about half of all children with Down syndrome will have some form of a heart condition. Usually they are atrial ventricle septal defects, a ventricle septal defect, persistent ductus arterius, or tetralogy of Fallot. And for Jessica, I was reading those off a piece of paper if you're wondering why I was looking down. And those are taken right from the National Down Syndrome Association, or the National Down Syndrome Society's website. So I will link that below for anybody who wants to go there, and I will specifically link it directly to the heart condition page, so that in case you're looking for specifically heart stuff. So when a child is born with a heart defect, it is known as a congenital heart defect because they are born with it. It's not something that has happened over time. So Jessica was born with a heart condition. She actually had more of a rare type of heart condition, in the sense that she had both atrial septal defect and the tetralogy of Fallot. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing these incorrectly. I tend to pronounce things incorrectly quite a bit. I'm sorry. So she had the atrial ventricle septal defect, which is a large hole in the center of the heart that opens between the atrium and the ventricles, and so blood just passes through, kind of like all willy-nilly. It mixes, the unoxygenated blood mixes with the oxygenated blood, and then it is pumped through, and then they have issues because there's a lot of unoxygenated blood going through their body. With the tetralogy of Fallot, there is the narrowing of the artery that goes, or the valve that goes into the artery that fills the blood with oxygen, so it takes it to the lungs. That is also known as a pulmonary stenosis, so there's a narrowing there. Jessica had that as well. She had the tetralogy of Fallot, so she had all of these things. She had to have a surgical repair. So the surgical repair didn't happen until she was about 9 months of age. She survived well in what they called congestive heart failure. She did actually do quite well. The doctors were quite amazed that her heart was able to pump the blood in all the right directions. So everything was going pretty much to where it needed to go to be oxygenated. Her SATs were anywhere, so her blood oxygen levels could be anywhere from like, she was always in the high 70s, so like 78, 79 to 86 was a good day, but she did well with that. She would, when she was having really bad days, when she was really sick, and if she even got so much as a sniffle, her SATs would drop to 68%, and she would be in hospital at that point on oxygen therapy. Her doctor did diagnose her with asthma as well, so that kind of exacerbated all of the situations that we could have ever had. So like I said, she did well. She was very edematous all the time, so she had a lot of fluid in her body, so all of the all the cells in her body would carry extra fluid. So we had her on medications for that. She was taking medications daily for her heart, to help lower her blood pressure, to take some of the load off of her heart so that her heart didn't have to work so hard. And we were at Sick Kids in Toronto, so the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, pretty much weekly for the first, well, almost the first year of her life, really. She was either in the hospital, our local hospital here, or at the hospital for sick children. She was home very rare, just for seems like short periods here and there, while she was young, like infant, below the age of 1. Now, when she was diagnosed with the heart condition, she had, she was born, they let me keep her in my room, in my hospital room that night. And the doctor came in the morning, and because she hadn't fed during the night, she was very lethargic, difficult to wake up. He suspected there was some sort of issue, so he took her to what was known as the special care unit, or some hospitals call it the NICU. That's where she was. So she went there that day. So that she was born on October the 2nd, so that would have been October the 3rd. And she was in there all day, and I would go back and forth as I was able to, like, as I was allowed to go in and see her, but every time I went in, she was a little worse than she was before. You know, she started to require oxygen, and they did start an IV on her because she hadn't eaten, so they gave her fluids and stuff like that. So there was all these little things that kept happening and building. And so from what I understand, I wasn't there for most of them, but she went into respiratory distress about 6 times, so where she required some immediate medical attention. And finally, at about 10 o'clock that night, they were forced to fly her via helicopter to Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto. She had become to the point where they just couldn't take care of her effectively anymore. So that night she was flown up. We went up to Sick Kids, and that's where they diagnosed her with a heart condition. And what they did was they did an ultrasound of her heart, which is known as a echocardiogram. So that's where it's like an ultrasound of the heart. And they were able to diagnose all of the issues that Jessica had with her heart. And they told me at that time that they were going to put her on the heart transplant list, which they did. And because Jessica's heart was so enlarged that they said that she could accept a heart up to a 12-year-old child. Now, being in that position where you know that it's quite possible that someone has to lose a child in order for your child to survive is quite breathtaking, and it's a very earth-shattering things to hear, you know, when you just have this newborn baby and they're like, you know, the chances are that somebody's baby's gonna have, they didn't say it like that, but I mean, when you think about it in your head at the mental state that you're in at that time, that's what you think, is that, you know, unfortunately somebody's child will have to pass away for my child to live. And thankfully they decided that they were going to be able to repair Jessica's heart instead of having to go the route of the heart transplant, which I thank God for every day that they were able to do that. They told me that when a child is under the age of 1, they can accept any blood type. This was research at the time that Sick Kids had just come to that realization. The researchers at the Hospital for Sick Children had only just realized that that a child under the age of 1 is able to accept any blood type. It doesn't have to be their specific blood type, which was actually quite amazing, because they didn't have to wait for an organ to match their blood type. They were able to take it regardless. So that was excellent news, and you know, congratulations to the Sick Kids team that did that, because we went to the hospital for our regular appointment at Sick Kids. So when I say Sick Kids, just in case you're watching this and you don't know, Sick Kids is Ontario terms for the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto. So So if you're ever wondering, oh, sick kids, it's not. It is. It's the hospital for sick children in Toronto, but here in Canada, in Ontario, we call it sick kids. So anyway, we had our regular appointment, which was booked. You know, we were there for like to see the cardiologist, I think monthly, and then we went up for other reasons, for whatever reasons we needed to go up. So we went to see the cardiologist, and I mean, at this point in time, the cardiologist just walked into the room. He took one look at her and said her surgery needs to be done. So she was booked in for her surgery for the end of the week. So we were back and forth to Toronto that whole week. And then unfortunately the day of her surgery, it was canceled. They had an emergency come in. So then we ended up having to wait until the Monday. Her surgery was done on the Monday. It was successful. It was very successful. It took about 6 hours. Or actually, it was about 6.5 hours, maybe even a little longer. We were made to feel very secure. The doctor explained exactly what he was going to do the entire time that we were there, like the entire time she was going to be in the operating room, exactly what was going to happen. He told us about how they hook them up to a machine that their blood flows through. So while they're working on their heart, their blood is still flowing through their body, and it's keeping them alive even though their heart is technically stopped. So it's very scary, and it's something that I really don't ever wish would ever happen to a child or to a family. I did feel like these doctors knew exactly what to do and when to do it, and how, you know, it was just like it was a routine operation to them. So it was quite amazing to have that done. It was to this day, to me, it is still mind-boggling how they were able to do it. It just I can't even believe it. But Jessica did okay after her surgery. She was in the intensive care unit. Actually, I have pictures of what she looked like when she came out of surgery right here. So this is what Jessica looked like when she came out of surgery. It was very scary. They did let me hold her. I was a little leery about holding her just because of all of those tubes and the respirator and the, oh, broke my heart. I couldn't do it. I could not physically. I held her, but I couldn't feel like I was holding my baby. It just didn't feel like it was right. She had all these wires everywhere. I'm not quite sure exactly which wires were for what and what was doing what. She had an IV that had about 7 different things going into it. It was, I mean, I think back on it now and I still have no concept of actually what happened. Jessica did, unfortunately, her kidney function didn't come back the way they had hoped after the surgery. She had some real problem with some edema. She did swell up quite a bit. I believe she was positive about 1 liter of fluid, maybe more, if I remember correctly, and unfortunately she did go into severe respiratory distress, in which she required some resuscitation, and Paul and I were actually in the room when that happened. And so unfortunately that was something that happened. I think it was like day 2 post-op that happened, and that right there, to watch people do CPR on your child is, I don't even have words to express how you feel at that point in time. There are no words to express how you feel. It is like literally like your heart just comes up into your throat, and it breaks your heart, like literally breaks it. The nurse that was there, I remember she just kind of wheeled a chair behind me, and I was able to sit down, because I think she knew I was going to sit regardless of what went on, I think. So she just was able to get a chair underneath me, and I sat in the chair, and thank God Jessica was okay. She did have to be on BiPAP. She was on BiPAP for about 5 days. That's where they force air into their lungs, and they're able to breathe better. So that was something else that was very difficult, because, you know, she had a hard time with that. She wasn't, you know, we weren't able to hold her. We weren't able to do any of that, because she was sedated for the most part, and she was just, you know, kind of laying there. So at this point in time, I'm kind of thinking, you know, things are just not going right. Things are going south quickly. But she did come around. During the 15 days that we were at Sick Kids for her heart surgery, I do not remember really much at all. I don't remember eating, although I'm sure I did. I remember vaguely talking to people, but I mean, I'm sure I spoke to many people, and I'm sure I kept my whole entire family updated, but I really have no recollection, and haven't really since it all happened. I really have no recollection. Everything was such a whirlwind. I don't remember coming home at all, although I know I'm pretty sure I did, because Casey, my oldest daughter, was home. So I spent most of the time at Sick Kids, and Paul spent most of the time at home with Casey. I think I came home for a day or two, and Paul went up, and but otherwise I was the one that was there for the most part. For the 15 days, we were able to, after the BiPAP and after all of that, we were able to get all that fluid off of her body, and her kidneys started to work again. Everything seemed to just miraculously, everything just started to get so much better, and it was like, you know, that sigh of relief, and everything seemed to be okay. And really, since then, we haven't had any heart related issues. We've had asthma related issues, we've had GI related issues, we've had bowel related issues, we've had all of those things, we have behaviors, we have all of those things, but nothing we can say is heart related. It seems to have been repaired. Now, Sick Kids has told us that between the ages of 18 to it's a wide gap, it's like 18 to 50, somewhere in around there, she will have to have another heart surgery. Because all of the arteries will need to, you know, be increased and all of that kind of thing. So anywhere between those ages, she will again have to have surgery. But until that time comes, you know, focus on behaviors, focus on healthy eating, focus on all these things. We do have a lot of issues right now that I'm trying to work through. It's not perfect, but I've been through some of these things, so I'm hoping that I can help someone who is in my position back when Jessica was 1, 2, 3, up to the age of 12. You know, I may have some insight into what, you know, you may need, and I'm here for you to try to help you. So if you need anything, if you have any questions whatsoever that you think that I might be able to answer, or might be able to find the answer for you, I would be happy to do so. Just leave a comment in the box below, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. If you want to know more about Jessica, again, just leave a comment below, and I will do a video, or I'll get us to do a video, and you guys will get to meet Jessica. So as far as Jessica's heart, now it seems to be, everything seems to be going along quite nicely. Every time we go, we do know that she does have a leaky valve, which every year we go to Sick Kids for another echo. She has that done, and we do an ECG, which is just the stickers on the chest that just checks the rhythm of her heart, and everything is okay, like in the sense that she has a leaky valve, and they're not going to do surgery to repair it at this time because she is functioning so well. And if something is wrong, the doctor did say that she would put her on a medication, and the medication would help from there. So, you know, it's not like you go from nothing being wrong to, you know, there's little things in between. You don't go right from, oh my God, she has a heart condition, to right to surgery all the time. I mean, sometimes they do. Like, sometimes babies are born and boom, they go right into the OR as a life-saving measure. And I have known that to happen. I have seen that happen with children with Down syndrome. In Jessica's case, that wasn't the case. She was managed medically with medicine and routine visits and technology in the sense of echoes and ECGs and all that. But otherwise, she did quite well. Survived well in congestive heart failure is what the doctor told us. Now, he did also tell us when they flew her up to Sick Kids that night, they told me that if Jessica did not have her surgery within the first year of life, that they didn't foresee a good outcome. Those words have stuck with me for the last 12 years, even though she's had her heart surgery, because they waited until 9 months to do the surgery. With every month that passed, I was like, oh my God, we're getting closer to a year. Oh my God, we're getting closer to a year. With every month that went by, I was thinking, oh my God, they're not doing the surgery. They're not. Every time we would go and they would say, no, we're not going to do surgery right now, I'd be like, oh my God. And so I spent the first 9 months in panic state that something bad was going to happen to my baby. And she was not like, she wasn't a crier. All she did really was sleep. When I would feed her, she would sweat so much that like I'd have to wrap her in a blanket because she would just slip out of my hands if she didn't have, she was that sweaty. I couldn't breastfeed her because, well, I just didn't have the amount of milk that was required for her, because her body burned so many calories just by breathing and functioning her body, that she needed a high calorie food that would give her enough calories to help her put on weight, because she just kept losing weight because she would just functioning, life in general, functioning for her was burning so many calories that she just couldn't keep up. So I had to go to formula that was high calorie, high protein, and that sort of thing. So I couldn't breastfeed her any longer, which was I had to be fine because I didn't have the supply for her anyway. But she did breastfeed for the first few months. I did pump, and just then she took what I had, but they had to supplement her with formula anyway because I just didn't have enough milk. And she was fed through an NG tube, which is a tube that goes in the nose, down the throat, and into the stomach. And that's how she was fed for the most part anyway, because she just wasn't able to take in, she didn't have the energy to drink for that amount of time that she needed to take in the food. So she would lose too much steam and just not be able to do it. She just didn't have that power. But now she eats like a champ, so she's done quite well in that department. But yeah, she is an absolute joy, and I was so happy when her surgery was done, and that to see her run and to see her play and not be like tuckered right out within a second. You know, it took her about 4 or 5 months just to roll over, and that, like, I mean, literally right after that, she got onto her stomach. She had to have a nap because it was like, she just, that was all the energy she could muster, was that. It was, you know, she did have a hard time for the first year, but after the first year was over, she, and that surgery was done, and she started to heal and to repair. She did, Jessica's scar is actually quite large. It goes right from, like right here, the start of her sternum, to below her nipple line. So it's pretty much the entire top of her chest, or her entire chest area, that is scarred. But she has no qualms about her scar, and she knows why she has her scar, and she's totally okay with it. So we've never really made it like it was a bad thing or to cover up thing, because it gave her life, and that was a wonderful thing. So if you have any more questions about Jessica and her heart condition, just leave a comment below, and I will get to it as quickly as possible, or I may do another video on it. That depends on what the question is. And if not, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button, and please subscribe to my channel. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you. Bye.